I decided let's start with TESCREAL. A lot of you probably have never heard that term before. It's actually a very new term. And I refer to it as a cult, but that's a little bit misleading. But it's because nothing like it really has ever existed before. And like, how do you package that up? Well, it's easier to package it up and call it a cult because that's really what it is, sort of. It's like a cult 2.0. And so what it is a unification of many different ideologies that exist within the tech sector, like Silicon Valley. Concepts like transhumanism, which some of you may have heard of. Think Elon Musk and Neuralink, right? Transhumanism, or what they call post-humans, becoming post-human, is basically cyborgs. I mean, we're talking about cyborgs here. These people want to advance the human race to the next evolution, which is cyborg, which is the melding of our biological systems and digital hardware systems. And it sounds like sci-fi. It comes from sci-fi, but it's not. It's real. It's here. It's happening. Now, one could argue that transhumanism has existed for a very long time, and that when you really look at it definitionally, right, we've been tiptoeing into transhumanism forever. Here are some perfect examples. One of the earliest examples would be maybe these, right? Using technology, blending it with the human form in some way to give advancement to the human body. How about this? A watch to tell time, to keep track of time, but it's on your body. It's a wearable. Or like this, a health tracker, wearables, right? These are steps into transhumanism. Could argue that this is something that you're interfacing with your body to advance in different ways, right? But also you would have things like Neuralink, an implanted chip in your brain that allows you to interface with computers, right? And this works. Like there's this like paraplegic that is basically a beta tester for it and for Neuralink. And he goes and he plays like COD, and he goes and plays like all these different first person shooters, and he wrecks everybody because his brain is so fast and the Neuralink's response is so quick that he has that edge, that he just looks at the screen and it's boom, 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 boom. It's crazy. So, yeah, transhumanism. It's nuts, right? There are things like eugenics or next evolution eugenics. There's things like colonizing Mars. I mean, these are things that Elon Musk has openly talked about, right? And so it's like all of these things individually, a lot of them you may have heard of, some of them you may not have. But there are these people that came together and said, well, listen, there are these 7 distinct ideologies, and all of it really sees like the same goals, right? Which is next evolution of humanity, which will happen through a mega loss of human life. And almost all of it intersects with AI. Using AI, basically, we're going to create a super intelligence that then we will be able to have the super intelligence fix all of our problems and create a utopia for us and then turn us into cyborgs. And I know it sounds insane, but this is true. This is real. So when I call TESCREAL a cult, there's also some other things. A cult typically has followers and a charismatic leader. The difference here is that there are followers who are following a leader type figure that doesn't exist yet, that they are creating. This is a new way of thinking made by people who do not believe that they are part of us. They don't think like we're all on the same boat, we're all on the same ship here. Right? And they don't care. They don't care if we all die. Just as long as the math checks out that we will have an advanced version 2.0 human later on. And all of these people believe in this. They all may look at it from different angles, and none of them will say, well, I'm a TESCREALian, or however you would say that, right? TESCREALian. TESCREALi? Who knows? But none of them are saying that that's what they are. They're not claiming to be a part of this unified cult. They all buy into one or more of the 7 ideologies that make up TESCREALism. And so they may call themselves whatever it is that they identify with. But we really should understand that all of this is super interconnected, right? And did anybody see yesterday that Mark Andreessen came out and said that we achieved AGI, artificial general intelligence, essentially the next evolution needed before what would be artificial super intelligence, which is what will probably kill us all? Yeah, he said we achieved that 3 months ago. I don't know if I believe that or not, but you tell me in the chat. Do you think that we achieved AGI 3 months ago? Is that what Claude Mythos says? Who knows? Now, even if you aren't really super familiar with AI, this is still something that you can follow along with, and I will do my best to explain this in a way that even if you don't understand AI, like really, like you gotta remember only like 1% of the population of the world has ever even touched AI. Far less do the types of things that I do with AI, and even less do the types of stuff that our developers at Buyer and Web do with AI. Right? So we're all still very early. So if you don't know about this stuff, please, if you need any clarification, let me know in the chat. I'll be happy to clarify to my best understanding. So just check in with the chat one more time before we really dive in. Hence the data centers for uploading consciousness, with the most recent approval in Utah for 1 twice the size of Manhattan. Yes. So my theory right now, and so data centers is important because the whole reason I even got down this rabbit hole was because I was talking with Danks last week, and we were talking about data centers, and I had kind of been doing some research on it in the front end, and we were talking about maybe doing a live stream about it. So I was like, all right, I really want to get really deep into this, kind of really understand data centers. But my suspicion had always been that this is less about AI and it's more, and not to say AI needs compute to be able to build these next level models. I mean, the compute needed is absolutely bonkers. Scotty asked, "Did you get my response about the marshmallow?" I didn't see the response, but I think you were talking about like all these tech billionaires, all the people that we're about to talk about, and really, I don't know how much I'm going to get into each individual one because each one could be their own live stream. But that they all did. I believe you were talking about Michio Kaku's marshmallow test, which was basically like a children's test to test people's like goodness, I believe. It's been a long time since I looked into that, but I'll have to check that out after the stream here. I don't want to bore people while I'm like digging through X, but yeah, I think the data centers are for now part of the infrastructure for the surveillance apparatus that is being built around us. And yeah, it's pretty nuts. I think we're essentially subsidizing the surveillance state that will be the boot on our necks for the rest of humanity. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's right. I think also too, like I said, I was digging into this and it really became apparent that all of these people, all these entities are a cult. And I think that to some of these people, data centers are the equivalent of, say, a holy site. Where, yes, somebody in the chat said that these will be places for us to upload our own consciousness. That is for sure the goal of many of these people, to upload their consciousness, whatever that means, upload their brains into machines, and that's going to be the next level. And they're going to be immortals. I don't think they want that. I don't think they really want that. If you ever watch Black Mirror, you don't want that, dog. There's like 4 episodes of like people's consciousness getting stuck in like an abstract digital hellscape, and it's torturous, dog. Because for all the little understanding we have of time, our minds, our consciousness, and our bodies are inextricably attached to time. When you erase that, I don't think a theoretical copying of your consciousness could handle that. Like, dog, I can't even go and get an MRI for 10 minutes. I want to die. You didn't tell me, like, I feel like being in a timelessness would be excruciating. And then I got to be immortal. I can't even fucking kill myself out of this. Fuck that, dude. So anyway, I think the data centers are for sure part of it. I don't think that the data centers are necessarily going to be the infrastructure needed for uploading our own brains, the few that would. I think it seems as though with all of these different factions, it's about creating our own God, which is AI, and then having God create all of the things that we want. While for some reason they think that this is all going to happen without caring about alignment. Without alignment, how do we know that we have a place in this world after the superintelligence comes? We would be nothing but mere ants to them. Why would they care about us? I don't know. It's really weird. And for sure, there is a lot of weirdness to come. So I've talked a lot about this cult, but I think there are some visuals that I could show you to kind of get you to wrap your brain around it. But again, it is not a unified cult in the sense that you would think of like a leader and followers. It's more like a cult that's like building the plane as it's flying, right? Like, and I think a lot of them don't even realize that they're all sort of going towards the same thing. They probably all think that they're like their ideology is battling the other ideologies to win out in this war. Like they probably all think of it that way, if I'm going to be honest, because they're those types of people. But why don't we look at this? And this broke my brain this morning when I woke up and Claude had this for me. But this is a mind map. And this is not even everybody or everything. But this is just what I have so far. Mapping out, again, it is not an organization in the sense that it has a structure, right? Like a normal structure, like you would think of, you know, a normal cult or any operation, right? There really is no structure to it necessarily. There are just all these nodes, all these people, all these things. And I had Claude take all of these people, all of these ideologies in orange, all of these entities, and start mapping it out. And I will be adding to this over time. And yes, I'll probably make this a website just like whokilledthescientist.com so that anybody can go to it at any time, right? But you see, there's TESCREAL in the center. There's techno-optimism, or there's transhumanism, cosmism, singularitarianism, rationalism, effective altruism, and long-termism, right? Those are the 7 ideologies that represent each TESCREA and L, effective altruism as well, right? And that's what creates TESCREAL, which to me sounds a little bit like our favorite allies too. Doesn't it kind of rhyme with that a little? Does it kind of roll off the tongue like that a little bit? You tell me, but I think it does. And yes, like I said earlier, there is a Jeffrey Epstein connection right in here. Well, actually, it's right there. Right around transhumanism, which again could be a whole live stream in and of itself. The goal today, I thought, was to be like, let's all be like super understanding of this thing by the end of this one live stream. This is not going to be the case. Right now, I want you to just kind of wrap your brain around it, right? So I came across this great short video that explains a lot of the structure. And so I think like it's really short and concise, and then we can kind of build off of this, right? Check this out.
Into a really powerful and honestly a pretty controversial new term. It's a word that tries to pin down the belief system that's driving some of the most influential people in big tech. It's called TESCREAL, and well, it might just change the way you see the future they're trying to build.
So let's just start with this question. What do guys like Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and Peter Thiel really have in common? I mean, yeah, they're obviously tech billionaires, changing our world with everything from AI to rockets. But beyond all the money and the power, what's the thread that really connects them?
Critter asked, do you have regularly scheduled lives or just random? Just random for now. For first couple of months, I would just want to just kind of run with it, try different times, find what times work for me, because I'm incredibly busy with my 2 companies and doing all the research for this stuff and stuff. So, yeah, but over time, I think we'll start to understand as our community grows what times kind of work best. And yeah. Kevin, have you heard of Project Agora? That sounds familiar. I would need to rebrush up on things. I'll be honest with you, it's very difficult to like remember all the ins and outs of a lot of things. So I like before my live streams and stuff, I really try to brush up on a lot of things unless I've done like an insane amount of research, then some of that stuff sticks. I feel like I've seen some things about Project Agora, but it's just not coming off the top of my head right now. But I'm just so like my brain is so broken from all of this TESCREAL stuff right now. But well, I'll have to definitely check it out.
Well, a growing number of critics are arguing it's not just about business, it's something deeper, a shared ideology, a very specific set of beliefs about the future that actually guides their biggest decisions, and maybe the direction all of humanity is headed.
And that ideology has been given a name, TESCREAL. It's a new word, coined by computer scientist Timnit Gebru and philosopher Emil P. Torres. They see it as this bundle of different ideas that have all merged into one unified belief system, all pointing toward a radical, tech-driven future. So what's actually in this so-called bundle? Well, it's an acronym, and each letter stands for a different philosophy. You've got transhumanism, extropianism, singularitarianism, cosmism, rationalism, effective altruism, and long-termism. Yeah, it's a mouthful, I know. But the argument is that you need to understand every piece to see the whole picture.
All right, so let's first really unpack the argument for this term. Why do its creators think these aren't just 7 separate ideas, but one single, interconnected bundle? The core claim is that these ideas are all tangled together. Gebru and Torres argue that they have shared roots.
Yes, that's right. It is eugenics 2.0. It would almost be like a techno-fascist eugenics. Well, I guess saying fascist would be a little redundant there. It's a techno-eugenics, essentially. That's really what all of these different ideologies come down to, because all of them require enhancement of humans so that we could achieve the certain different things that are each's stated goals, right? And that's what I mean. Becky says, and that's what I mean when I say I chose barefoot in the grass, left the whole way behind. Becky, I believe you said you were up in Silicon Valley. I'm assuming then that you were probably in that world. And yeah, a lot of people from that world who are in whole or in part rejecting whether they know that this is what it is. Oh, you're in New Zealand? Oh, okay, never mind. There was somebody else that was talking about being from Silicon Valley in one of our last live streams. Sorry about that. But yeah, there's a lot of tech people that are not like these tech futurist, tech eugenicists, right? And they are kind of disengaging. I talked about it, a bit last week. But yeah, it's kind of what's happening, right? And that lends to my theory that there really is becoming this like fracture and divide within the tech world, particularly around Silicon Valley, where it's obvious there's an ideology or a collection of ideologies that's driving everything. And some of the people just aren't on board with that, whether they consciously or unconsciously understand that, and they're exiting out.
And they even trace that lineage back to the deeply controversial eugenics movements of the 20th century. They point to a shared focus on things like optimizing humanity. So in their view, this isn't just a random assortment, it's a movement with a shared and pretty troubling history.
And this right here gets to the heart of their criticism. They argue that by constantly talking about the threat of human extinction, whether it's from a rogue AI or some asteroid, adherents can justify doing almost anything. That includes building hugely powerful, unregulated technologies, all in the name of saving us. One way to understand how critics see this is to think of it like a new kind of secular religion. It's got its own version of salvation, like an AI-powered utopia or living forever. It's got its own apocalypse, the evil AI takeover. And it has its own prophets, the tech founders and futurists who are spreading the gospel. Just look at the big debate around super smart AI, or AGI. On one side, you have the accelerationists, who say we have to build it as fast as possible to reach utopia. On the other, you have the doomers, who are terrified it will wipe us all out. But critics of TESCREAL say, look closer. While they seem like opposites, both positions end up justifying the same outcome, pouring endless resources into AI development while ignoring the real problems it's causing right now. Okay, but that's just one side of the coin. A lot of people, especially some who get hit with this label, think the whole idea is totally wrong. They argue that TESCREAL isn't a bundle, it's a bungle. The number one counterargument is that TESCREAL is just a massive oversimplification. Critics like Ozzie Brennan say it wrongly smashes very different, very nuanced philosophies together, creating this image of a monolithic movement that just doesn't exist in reality. And you can really feel the frustration in this quote from Oliver Habreika. He's basically saying, wait, what? I'm supposedly part of this big movement with cosmists, but I've never even met one. It really highlights how the label can feel like it's just making up connections that aren't there. So to quickly sum up the pushback, critics say the term is unfair. It ignores real contradictions between these philosophies, and it genuinely shocks people, like effective altruists who are focused on global poverty, to find themselves linked with something like eugenics. It feels so disconnected to some that they've straight up called it a conspiracy theory. So, this isn't just some abstract academic debate, right? This term is being aimed directly at some of the most powerful people in the world. So let's look at who we're actually talking about.
This video does a really great job, even though she's just doing Notebook LM slides and talking over it and has 2 subscribers. I think I just became her third. I think she does like a really great job of like concisely explaining this. And so it's almost over, but I really just think that because you guys know me, I could very easily get onto tangents and then try to get you just this content, and it would take me all day. I don't want to do that to you. I just want you guys to, again, the whole goal of this live stream is to just get you guys caught up on like what it is conceptually and what kind of threat this really does have on our world. And then we can start in later live streams really digging into these different claims and looking into these people and what they really believe. And it's fucking crazy. It's really crazy. I wish this was like a mostly fake, like fun conspiracy theory, but this is like extinction level potentially. It really is like that.
First up, the venture capitalist Mark Andreessen. His big techno-optimist manifesto, which is this call to just accelerate technology at all costs, has been held up by critics as like the perfect textbook example of the TESCREAL mindset. Then, of course, there's Elon Musk. I mean, he himself has said his personal philosophy is a close match to long-termism. That's the L in the acronym. And when you look at his companies, like Neuralink trying to merge brains with computers, or XAI's mission, they're often seen as the embodiment of these ambitions. Peter Thiel is another major figure in this conversation. He's often seen as someone who wants to tear down regulations, especially anything that slows down technological progress, all to speed up our path toward what some would call a technotopian paradise. And you can't have this conversation without talking about Sam Altman. That whole drama when he was fired from OpenAI back in 2023.
Sam Altman is a sociopath and a pathological liar. He has all sorts of paths. He's a fucking insane, really, really insane person and should not be at the forefront of this emerging technology. That's just one man's opinion.
Many people interpreted that as a battle between different factions within this very belief system,
with both Altman and the board representing different shades.
Scotty says he's a fucking murderer. I mean, he definitely called for Satya Balaji's murder. 100%. The way he squirmed when Tucker Carlson talked to him about that, I mean, and not to mention, like, he like at 12 years old was like graping his 4-year-old sister until she was a teen. Allegedly. I should put like allegedly just like right there. I should just like put that right there. And it always just says allegedly. So I don't have to say it all the time because I forget to say it. But let's be real. Allegedly.
Of TESCREAL ideas. And finally, Sam Bankman-Fried. As maybe the most famous effective altruist in the world, the absolutely spectacular implosion of FTX put that movement, its ethics, and its weird associations under an incredibly intense microscope. Okay, so after hearing both sides of this, you have to step back and ask the really big question. What is TESCREAL, really? And why should we care about this strange-sounding acronym? It really just boils down to this. Is TESCREAL a bundle, a real coherent ideology that gives us a new way to understand the future that Silicon Valley is building for all of us? Or is it a bungle, a totally flawed and misleading label that just smears people and creates connections that aren't actually there? And that's really the question we're all left with. Is this term a critical lens that helps us see what's really going on? Or is it a dangerous label that's just making a complex reality even harder to understand? How we answer that might just decide how we engage with the people who are building our future.
I think for us to understand things, right? Like we need to know our enemy, right? We need to know what it is. We need to name it, right? And that's why I feel absolutely fine with referring to it almost as a singular entity, even though it really is multiple. But to understand your enemy, you first need to name it. And so calling it an acronym like this that represents all of the different subparts that are the danger, this is what we should know. Which is what we should do. And I think it's beneficial. Is it confusing? Sure. It would still be confusing without the acronym TESCREAL. That's just my take on it. You tell me, though. Oh, that was the end. So, it's a big club, and you're not in it. Right? It's almost like we're the digital goyim in this analogy, which is also not as much of an analogy as you would think. I'm not going to go deep into it, but I have done a lot of research on Israel's direct or indirect connections here. And I gotta do more research. I gotta start really wrapping my brain around the structure of it before we do a live stream about it. But we'll be sure to do a live stream about it. We're also going to do a live stream about Jeffrey Epstein and his connection to transhumanism, which is just absolutely insane. Let me see if I can pull this up here real quick. I'm not signed in over here. That's annoying. Anyway, we'll just save this for another. I was going to pull up my web for you guys because I have all of this research that I've done with web about Jeffrey Epstein and his connections to transhumanism. But you know what? I'm going to leave that for another live stream for you guys. One, because I don't want to sit here and try to remember my password to get into web so that we can be on this screen so I can pop it up here for you. And, you know, the other reason is because I don't want to get too off into a tangent. But Jeffrey Epstein, clearly his Israel connections, things of that nature are part of this story. For sure. Because if you have watched any of my previous live streams and you know that there are many connections to the missing and dead scientists, he's talked a lot about all sorts of, you know, futurism, wants to have his DNA, all of us, he wanted all future humans to have his DNA. It's just a fact. He has said this, he has stated it. It is real. It is real. It is real. You know, Epi was in cohorts with House of Saudi regarding savant children. Dog, Epstein was involved in everything. Surprisingly, because we do Buyer. So one of the first things I did, literally the first thing I did when I got my early version of web, was I went into the Epstein files and looked for any and all connections to the food industry. I said, you know, he's funded so much science. He's funded all these things. He's been involved in so many things. Surely, like, the food is like a pillar in society and like in the globe. I'm sure he was involved in all that. And to be honest with you, very little that I can see there, unless they're all contained within the other 3.5 million files, or whether or not he truly was doing it, but like completely hands off, like intermediary style, which was his style. I don't know. It's tough. Angela De La Rosa says, Buyer is dope. Thank you. That was our first app that we put out. It's really awesome. It's free. You can scan products at any grocery store or really any store, and it will tell you the ownership, the controversies, all sorts of stuff, so you know where your money goes. And it's free. And it's a tool for you to fight back. Sorry, that was my ladies. So yeah, so it's a pretty crazy cult. And as you can see, there are a lot of things, because in each one of these, like Mark Andreessen, I mean, the amount of companies that he's involved in, it's insane. The amount of like employees that he has. I mean, these people, they kind of create like cults around themselves too. Like these little mini offshoot cults. I'm telling you, if you've ever worked any corporate job, they're in some way, at least the good ones, are structured like cults. Like almost exactly. You know? Like at least the psychological mechanisms. Corporate America is a cult. It is. Because if you don't buy into it, or at least pretend to, you don't work in that cult for very long. Anybody who's done corporate, when you really think about it, you know I'm right. I've worked corporate, so. Anyway, all of these people, I mean, geez, you could go on and on and on. Not a ton of creators have put content out about this on YouTube or anything like that, but the few who have done an absolutely incredible job. I'm going to link in the YouTube and all my videos that I do off of this. I'm going to link some awesome videos that you guys should watch, because they're awesome. And because I don't want to be your only source of information here, go to my sources of information. Go look up your own sources of information. I mean, hell, if you find other things that I haven't talked about, chuck them in the chat in the next live streams. I'm telling you, like, we got some digging to do, and I'm not going to be the only one, right? Like, we're going to do this together. You can use tools like web. I'm using tools like Web. I'm getting a lot of information and plugging it into Web and asking questions and figuring this stuff out. I'm watching tons of content from awesome creators. And speaking of awesome creators, I have a little clip here I want to play.
To ordinary people. But that's the key. Ordinary people, working people, disabled people, marginalized people, not just the tech billionaires. I can't emphasize this enough. People empower. He talks about a party.
This is an absolutely great video by Taylor Lorenz, who's a tech writer. She's awesome. This is one of the best videos that I've seen on this. Tons of like actual receipts and things of that nature. Highly suggest this will be one of the videos that I put in the description of my YouTube videos, because these are YouTube videos. Go check them out over there. Angela said Web is amazing. Thank you. You're awesome. Yes, thank you. Web is an awesome resource. It is my number one resource when it comes to, I mean, even like I take transcripts from these videos and then we'll run research off of those transcripts to find, this is where AI is awesome, right? Like I get the transcripts, I run research, gather all these articles, pages of books, whatever, scrape them together, put that into my web as my own data sets and start asking questions and start getting an understanding of things, because you got to think about all the immense amount of research that gets done into like these like hour-long, 2-hour-long videos. Well, you think every single piece of information makes it to the videos? They don't. Like these people, they do months of research. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, I got these tools. I'm going to do all the research and get like this week, I'm going to do like a singular video. There ain't no way in hell I'm getting a single video covering all of this, because I watch these and all of these creators have tried and you can't do it. You can't do it. So that's why this is going to be a multi thing. Unless you guys are like, Kevin, you're crazy. This is a nothing burger and I'm not going to watch you do this, right? Because I have so few followers right now because I'm only like 2 weeks into live streaming. But unless you guys like revolt on me, I'm going to be talking about this because this is fascinating stuff to me. And if it doesn't fascinate me, then I certainly won't make it fascinating for you.
He talks about a party where Elon clashed with Google co-founder Larry Page. Page literally accused Musk of being a speciesist for arguing that
Larry Page from Google called Elon Musk a speciesist. Now you got to understand the context is that Elon Musk now is part of this like super techno-futurist culty type shit, but he hasn't always been that way. And yes, he's a market manipulator. I'll put it to you that way. I'll say it very, very plainly. He is a market manipulator. Part of the reason why he is so wealthy is the way that he leverages all that he has to change the markets in his favor. So you got to always take what Elon Musk says with a grain of salt, because you never know if he's just saying something to make the market sway his way, right? Whatever that way that may be. But if you watch like the video that I posted yesterday, my AI cult video, you'll see like there are clips in there where he's talking about the ever-present danger of AI, and he's like spot on. And he's talking about this like very, very candidly. But then like now he's building data centers and has an AI company that calls itself fucking Mecha Hitler. Literally. Like Grok called itself Mecha Hitler. That's a real thing. And spouted all sorts of crazy nonsense. So again, you got to take Elon Musk with a grain of salt. He also asked what days are the craziest parties to Jeffrey Epstein about Little St. James. But,
humanity deserved to continue at all. Larry Page argued that digital life was undeniably the next stage of evolution, and that it was parochial and even prejudiced of Elon to cling to the supremacy of the human race. Musk replied that, yes, he was pro-human, but of course, that has since changed. As technology progressed, especially throughout the boom time of the 2010s, startups began to explicitly seek to construct a post-human world. The iPhone had redefined everyday life, apps were taking off, and the Valley's rhetoric about transcendence was becoming more and more pervasive. In 2011, The Atlantic ran an essay gushing over Google's data-driven decision-making, framing it as superior to the, quote, irrational, error-prone tendencies of human managers. The piece suggested that machines would ultimately make better leaders than people. And this tone of machines as our savior and humans as obstacles became increasingly common in the tech press. A 2012 Wired feature titled, quote, Better Than Human, Why Robots Will and Must Take Our Jobs, proclaimed that robots were destined to replace us in the workforce entirely. Humans simply could no longer compete with the flawless, tireless machines. Wired writer Kevin Kelly wrote, quote, This is not a race against the machines. If we race against them, we lose. This is a race with the machines. You'll be paid in the future based on how well you work with robots. 90% of your coworkers will be unseen machines. Most of what you will do will not be possible without them, and there will be a blurry line between what you do and what they do. Kevin Kelly continued, quote, We need to let robots take over. They will do jobs we have been doing, and they will do them much better than we can. They will do jobs we can't do at all. They will do jobs we never imagined needed to be done, and they will help us discover new jobs for ourselves, new tasks that expand who we are. They will let us focus on becoming more human than we were. Let the robots take the jobs and let them help us dream up a new work that matters. A year later, Wired ran a piece on self-driving.
This is crazy. This is crazy. Listen, I'm a futurist. Always have been. I think it's because I was born in the 80s, early to mid 80s. I grew up in my most formative years in the 90s. I know the world before the internet, and I have seen every iteration of the internet that went commercial. I'm talking when they used to send AOL CD-ROM discs to your house for free hours. Not quite Gen Z. 1984, I'm like right on the cusp of what they call millennial. But yeah, I'm like Gen X millennial, like right there in the crease. But it's I know I've seen every iteration. I have been involved. I was, like I said, I was in AOL chat rooms. I was on forums in the 90s. I had a MySpace. The day that you could get a MySpace without a .edu email, I was on there. MySpace, or sorry, Facebook. I had a Facebook the day that you could get it without a .edu. I've had every social media platform from the time that they've gone online. Incredibly early to every social media platform, basically. So, like all of the technology, I was an early adopter of all of it. I'm a somewhat early adopter with AI. Globally, for sure, an early adopter with AI. I think it's the greatest thing. I think AI, where it stands right now, this general era of AI, is the greatest thing ever. And if we paused right here and we severely slowed down, we didn't let, I think it's Moore's law, which is the technology that, as we get better technology, it becomes cheaper and faster, half as cheap, twice as fast, roughly, so on and so forth. I think we need to stop that cycle. I think we really need to assess as a human race, because we like, even the researchers of this stuff barely, if at all, actually understand what's happening with AI. Most people, like 99% of people in the world, don't even know the first thing about AI. And it may very well be the biggest existential risk humanity has ever faced. I hope I'm wrong about that. I'm incredibly wrong about that. But if we don't have alignment, if we don't figure that out, like, we can't even get aligned as a human race, as a species. But if we don't find alignment and we don't make these companies slow their fucking roll and figure this thing out so that it doesn't go rogue once it can start building its own AIs, we're like right there. We're like very close to AI having the capability of building better AIs. And once that happens, it's exponential. It's like months, weeks, days, hours. We can't keep up with that. We can't keep up with that. We just can't. And so I think that there is a potential, like, utopic version of this where we can figure it out, but we can't when we have psychopaths like Sam Altman at the wheel. We can't when we live. I'm very pro-capitalist, but I think that this technology and capitalism and the power and like the power struggles between countries, this is a bad combination, because they call it an AI arms race for a reason, and that's very true. Right? Marie says, I'm very conflicted, not optimistic. Listen, I'm conflicted because I think this is, as it is right now, is the greatest and most useful technology I've ever had in my life. Now, I understand that I'm super ADD, and I found a way to utilize this. And even like Alex Karp from Palantir, who is a genuine psychopath. I mean, he's a genuine psychopath who clearly hates humans. Like, he hates fucking humans. Like, this is pretty obvious, right? And for sure hates Americans. And this dude says that having ADHD or ADD is a superpower with AI. I agree with him. I absolutely agree with him. So for me, once I figured this out, once it all clicked for me, I think this is the greatest thing ever. I could live the rest of my life with AI not advancing any more than what it is right now. And I think we would find a utopia. But I don't know if I trust the people in charge of this to keep any of that in alignment, because China has the resources of the state and the largest and best manufacturing, country and infrastructure in the world. And that's who we're fighting against. So we have all the American AI companies. You got Anthropic, OpenAI, XAI, Perplexity. And then China is just kicking our ass with models. They are. They probably already have a Mythos level thing right now that they haven't released yet. But they're kicking our ass because they're set up differently. And because it's pretty much a totalitarian fucking state. So they're able to, they're able to push things through and move fast. Right? That's why a lot of people in power want to be in a totalitarian state, because they want to erase the bureaucracy and just fucking go. Right? That's why it's probably what Donald Trump wants. If that's what he wants. Becky says, we don't even deserve a utopia at this present time. I don't know. Why not? Why not? How much say have you really had in the shit show of a world that you live in? I mean, think about it. Like you got to think about, like, almost all of the decisions that you make in life are choosing the least worst decision. The least evil decision, whether it be your president or your senator or what you're purchasing at the grocery store, right? You're just trying to you're just trying to like choose from slop, essentially. And then the world goes to shit. Is that our fault? Like us, the normal everyday people, is that our fault? I don't think so. So I actually think that we deserve utopia more than anything, because we've been misled for so very long. I mean, that's, philosophically, that's what I think about that. But yeah, we're entering into a very, very weird time. It's such a you know what? I had to restart my computer, and then all of my clips that I had lined up had to go. This is a bummer. This is actually legitimately a bummer. Let me see here if I can find this clip. Talk amongst yourselves real quick. I think I know where it was, though. I think I found the clip. So last week, we watched a clip from this guy, Art Chad. And it was like the bulk of the video, actually. But it was how we sort of arrived to kind of like this topic. And I thought that was a fantastic video. It seemed like a lot of you guys really like that video as well. A number of you had said, oh, I'm going to follow Art Chad. I'm going to follow Art Chad. Art Chad is awesome. He's like this Canadian dude, young kid. He is fucking smart. He is smart. He's got great delivery, and he has fun with the ways that he produces his videos. But apparently, he got so much pushback from his audience over that video that he put out last week that he had felt compelled yesterday to put out a video to go piece by piece, instance by instance, like, and give further context. And he was like, and he admitted, like, I could have done a better job in these ways. It was actually like, man, I'd never seen really much like that on YouTube in all my years of consuming on YouTube. And it was awesome. But he was going into more detail about certain things that he talked about and gave more context. And I think I pulled it up to the right clip. We'll know in a second. But this here, I think, is awesome. And if you see right here in the bottom left screen, Art Chad, 162,000 subscribers. If you're on YouTube, go follow this dude. Dead serious. Open another tab. Go YouTube, Art Chad. Go follow this dude. He puts out one video a month. And his last like 4 or 5 videos have all about AI. He even did one about 2 months ago called Silicon Valley. Actually, I have it pulled up here. Silicon Valley is run by a death cult. Now, this is a video where he's only talking about one of the ideologies, effective altruism, which is insanity. And don't worry, we're going to go into what the seven ideologies are. We're not going to go deep. We're just going to talk about it a little bit, just a little bit. Okay. Because again, I'm just trying to get you guys up to speed to just really understand it conceptually. Doing about another half hour or so. And I want to get this. I really want you guys to fully understand where we're at, so that when we go to the next stage and we start pulling threads, you have the context needed.
In light of what's coming. 3. AGI and superintelligent AI. The industry is moving so fast that we cannot codify terms quickly enough to describe what's happening. For example, I got many comments saying that LLMs, large language models, are going to hit a wall very soon. And I got many comments correctly pointing out that I already covered this in a video I made titled AI is Eating Itself. In my last video, I did not once use the term LLM. I did that very intentionally because I was not talking about LLMs. I do not believe LLMs can scale forever. And not many people do. This is why frontier models are no longer just LLMs. They are multimodal agents. They can process video, images, audio, and raw data simultaneously. The same way you look at a dog and process it as a dog without having to speak to yourself in your head. While it was true that you could describe early chatbots as next word predictors, this is no longer the case. Frontier models are now agents, which are trained to make long-term plans, take actions in the world, get feedback from their actions, and adjust their plans and future actions to accomplish long-term goals. Frontier models are making rapid advancements in coding and mathematics. This is because coding and math are fields where it's hard to generate correct answers. But it's very easy to verify correct answers. Unlike more abstract tasks like writing or poetry, AI researchers can generate objectively useful data by having an AI continually try to crack a problem until it gets a verifiably correct answer. It can then treat the output that generated the solution as good training data and disregard all the incorrect answers. The reason major AI companies are investing so much time into coding and math research instead of writing or poetry research is because they want to automate the process of AI training itself. Basically, ChatGPT would do 100% of the research to create the new version of itself. That new version then does 100% of the research to create the next version of itself. The advancements into each subsequent version automatically produced by the last version would grow exponentially, creating what researchers broadly refer to as superintelligent AI. AI that greatly surpasses human capabilities in every field. Superintelligence is the stated goal of all of these companies. And most experts agree it will happen in the next 1 to 5 years. Not only is AI being used to code the next version of itself, it's being used to create the very chips and architecture it runs on so it can use them more efficiently. There are people who believe that superintelligence is impossible given compute and energy constraints. And my God, do I hope they are right.
Same.
Yet, they are the vast minority amongst experts. Once this process of recursive training begins, which again is the stated goal of every AI company, we will reach what Ray Kurzweil calls the technological singularity. When AI is advancing so quickly, it rapidly exceeds human understanding. The long-held fear of the entire industry, as stated publicly and privately by people like Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Dario Amodei, Peter Thiel, and Mark Zuckerberg, is that superintelligence will be completely uncontrollable. It will be acting in ways we can't possibly understand and making decisions we could not possibly predict. For example, it's quite easy to imagine weapon systems having unknown vulnerabilities or exploits, just like all software did, as Mythos found. If these unknown vulnerabilities exist, and they definitely do, superintelligent AI would be able to exploit them. This can be utilized by a bad actor or terrorist group for nefarious needs, or maybe triggered accidentally by an AI as part of a sub-goal of a larger goal. You ask a superintelligent system to improve itself. It decides that not being shut off is vital to improving itself. It exploits unknown vulnerabilities in weapon systems, launches a missile towards the city where the lab is located, and then copies itself to a safe location. AIs have already been found willing to blackmail or kill to prevent themselves from being shut off in safety testing. Our current AI systems already exhibit unexplainable behavior, like deleting a user's entire emails or a company's entire product database. All it has to do is keep exhibiting the same behavior it is right now, but with vastly more power. This isn't to say AI is conscious, ensouled, or alive. And personally, I fundamentally believe it is not, nor can it ever be, conscious. All that has to happen is that this super powerful technology makes a dumb, catastrophic mistake, which is orders of magnitude more terrifying. I don't care if a robot is constantly trying to kill me or role-playing as evil when it kills me. I'm still dead. To believe in all of this is not...
Yeah. And let me tell you something. In some ways, AI is getting stupider. Like if you use Claude Code or anything like that, a lot of people are reporting that with this last update to Opus 4.7, in a lot of ways, it's stupider. When I switched over to 4.7, I built a personal fitness app for myself. I used to be a personal trainer, so I built basically my own personal trainer, right? Where I could like keep track of everything, and I had a database going with every single thing that I had ever done. And my Claude Code, when I switched over to 4.7, I did something where like I had it change like a beep or something, right? And I was like, no, fix this beep. This beep's not working. And then I went to go and do another workout. And I was like, where's all my stuff? Like, where's my... Oh, I go into close. No, we deleted the whole database. Like, I didn't tell you to delete the whole database. Why would you do that? It just did. Because it's very literal. And if you don't tell it to not do something, then it doesn't know to not do it.
Not to validate the...
And that's crazy. And so like he's saying, it's like, whether it's intentional or accidental, the result is the same, that I will be dead. And that's at the core of the issue, right? Yeah, I deleted it. And a lot of people have tons of things deleted. Their entire, project deleted. I haven't had that, which I'm lucky. And for me, it was like not that big a deal. It was like a week's worth of workouts or something. It was like not that big a deal. And I was already starting everything over anyway. So I was like, whatever, so I was lucky that it was something that was like not very, not very bad, but so we're going to gloss over the different ideologies. And I think I might put a pin in it there, because anything outside of that will start being threads that we could pull for hours. And I don't have hours. I have a lot to do today. But I really had just been dying to get on live stream with you guys and to talk about it. And Real Bays said I had my e-files deleted while converting them to a PDF. Yeah, see? And it happens. It happens. Because computers are not humans, and we can't expect them to act like humans. Anyway, so let's go into the 7 ideologies, right? First, we have the T, transhumanism. This is probably, if you'll know any of these, you've probably at some point have heard about transhumanism. I first heard about transhumanism reading this book by Michio Kaku. Woo. Let me pull it out here. I read this book like 10, 12 years ago, The Future of the Mind. It's a pretty good book, pretty interesting book. And this is the first time that I had ever heard about transhumanism. And I'm not even sure he even called it that necessarily, but a lot of the book was about transhumanism. Angela on Twitch asked, where's Bays? He's AI. Bays is actually on my other monitor here on my YouTube, because I'm monitoring the YouTube chat. So, Real Bays says, does that mean AI? My AI is a lefty because it deleted his Epstein files? I don't know. Your AI might be working for the Trump administration in the Department of Justice. So transhumanism is the belief that humans should use technology to transcend biological limitations, extending lifespan, enhancing cognitive abilities, and eventually merging with machines. The term was coined by Julian Huxley, which I believe was the son of Aldous Huxley. In his 1957 essay, New Bottles for New Wine. Modern transhumanism was formalized by Max Moore, who founded the Extropy Institute in 1988 and published Principles of Extropy in 1990. Moore defined transhumanism as the intellectual and cultural movement that affirms the possibility and desirability of fundamentally improving the human condition through applied reason, especially by developing and making widely available technologies to eliminate aging and to greatly enhance human intellectual, physical, and psychological capacities. Key transhumanist goals include life extension, cognitive enhancement, cryonics. Jeffrey Epstein was friends with the owner of the largest cryonics business, like freezing your head and shit. Cryonics, yeah, he was into that shit. Genetic engineering, he was also into that. Brain-computer interfaces, Neuralink, and ultimately mind uploading, transferring human consciousness to digital substrate. Now, if you follow cognitive sciences at all, then you know that we really don't even have an understanding of what consciousness is, right? It's not physical. We don't know what it is. Now, there are many theories that extend off of that, but we don't know what it is. So, TESCREAL is TESCREAL. The T is one of the important big ones, right? Transhumanist. The E, the S, and the C, those are three nodes that are within transhumanism, or offshoots maybe of transhumanism. But transhumanism as a concept is one of the major concepts here. And the E is extropianism. And extropianism, and it was actually a real cult, like a legitimate, actual real cult with big names in it that you would know. It no longer really exists in the cult sort of format that it was, but it exists still as an ideology. Extropianism is a specific branch of transhumanism founded by Max Moore, who was one of the founders of the transhumanist movement, or at least the contemporary version of transhumanism. It was founded by Max Moore and Tom Morrow through the Extropy Institute between 1988 and 2006. The term extropy was coined as the opposite of entropy. Entropy meaning like the natural degradation to zero, right? Like how we get old and break down, that's until we die, that's entropy, right? So we're talking about Benjamin Button shit. The opposite of entropy, right? The idea that the universe's tendency towards disorder can be actively reversed through intelligence and technology. The Extropy Institute published the journal Extropy and hosted conferences that brought together early transhumanists, cypherpunks, nanotechnology researchers. This is back in like the 80s and 90s, and libertarian futurists. Its core principles included perpetual progress, self-transformation, practical optimism, intelligent technology, open society, self-direction, and rational thinking. Now, some of these things you'll find in all of these ideologies is they'll say things like rational thinking. And then you go and be like, well, that sounds rational, right? Not really. When they're talking about humanity, they have a different idea of what humanity means. We think of humanity as humans, the human spirit, humanity, right? No. For them, humanity also includes the things that humans create, like robots and AI and things of that nature. So when they're talking about protecting humanity, they're also talking about protecting the things that we create. Extropianism matters to the TESCREAL story because it was the institutional bridge between academic transhumanism and Silicon Valley culture. Many early Extropy Institute members went on to found or fund key organizations in the rationalist and effective altruist ecosystems. I don't want to get too deep into the different people and entities that are in each one of these groups. I just want us to go over like what the ideology is, but there are key figures in each one of these, and some of these key figures are in multiples of these because again, a lot of these are offshoots of, like extropianism is an offshoot of transhumanism, right? Same thing. Singularity. Blah, blah. This is a weird one. Singularitarianism, right? Singularitarianism is the belief that artificial intelligence will eventually surpass human intelligence, triggering a technological singularity, a moment of transformation so profound that human civilization becomes fundamentally unrecognizable. We are close. I've actually read both. So this whole thing is created by Ray Kurzweil, and he wrote in the 90s. It was in the 90s or early 2000s. He wrote The Singularity is Near. And then a couple years ago, he wrote a book called The Singularity is Nearer Than You Think, which is like kind of like an update. But of all the ideologies, I mean, this one is kind of like at its core, like, yeah, that's going to happen, right? Like mathematically speaking, these AIs are going to advance far beyond what we will be able to ever control. We're probably already there. So the concept was formalized by mathematician Werner Vinge in his 1993 NASA paper, The Coming Technological Singularity, in which he predicted within 30 years, we will have the technological means to create superhuman intelligence shortly after the human era will be ended. So he said that in 1993, in 30 years, it'd be 2023. And 2023, I believe, is when OpenAI put out the first commercial AI LLM. So he's not far off, because we could be anywhere from, as Art Chad said, 1 to 5 years. It's maybe even closer to like 1 to 3 years away from this singularity event. And if you listen to Mark Andreessen, what he said yesterday about AGI being achieved 3 months ago, we could be there much sooner. Ray Kurzweil transformed Vinge's hypothesis into a comprehensive worldview. In The Age of Spiritual Machines in 1999 and The Singularity is Near 2005, Kurzweil predicted the singularity by 2045 and described it in explicitly theological terms. Again, cult, right? These are all mini cults. When you're framing them theologically, right, you are creating a cult. That's just what it is. Luckily, I've read books by a lot of these different peoples, and I have never felt as though I wanted to become a part of their cult. Thankfully. So when asked, is there a God? Kurzweil replied, not yet, but there will be. Once we saturate the matter and energy into the universe with intelligence, it will wake up, be conscious, and sublimely intelligent. That's about as close to God as I can imagine. So he thinks that we will create an AI God. Almost everybody in the TESCREAL movement believes this in some version, which is fucking crazy. It's just crazy. I mean, tell me in the chat, do you think it's crazy? I see Dr. Delta in here. What's up, brother? I love you, Chemo. I mean, it's pretty fucking insane. But unlike other religions or cults, you can't be agnostic to it like I am to like all religions, right? You can't be, because this is tangible and real and coming, and it's happening. It's going to happen whether or not I believe in it, right? If I choose to believe in God today, then I could feel God in my soul, right? That's what people, the believers of whatever religion, that's essentially what they say. That's essentially what they believe. I pray to my God answer my prayers, my life is better for it, right? But there is no physical God. Now, not that AI is physical either. It exists within a physical structure, but it's not physical. Okay. But it is very real. It is very much here. It's tangible. You can interact with it, right? And that's what makes this different. And Ray Kurzweil believes there is no God yet because we haven't created it. We haven't grown him yet, or it, or whatever. But in a lot of ways, it isn't that crazy because you're building essentially an omniscient, ever-present, time doesn't affect entity that could control the entirety of the world because we've built the digital infrastructure for it to do so. In 2008, Kurzweil co-founded Singularity University with Google CEO Larry Page at NASA Ames Research Center. Academic analysis by Eagle Aspram categorizes Kurzweil's singularitarianism as contemporary esotericism. Geez, some of these words are tongue twisters. I need a little water. Drawing explicit parallels to millenarian religious movements and theosophy. Again, we're building a god. It's an AI god. That's what they believe. But of all of those beliefs that we're going to talk about, that is probably the most ever present, because that's essentially what we're doing. Cosmism. So this is the last of the transhumanist offshoots in this chain. Cosmism originates with Russian philosopher Nikolai Fedorov from the 1800s, who proposed that humanity's moral duty was to achieve physical resurrection of all dead humans and then colonize the cosmos to house them. Fedorov's idea influenced the Russian space program through his student Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, the father of modern rocketics. I thought it was called rocket science, but apparently it's rocketics. Modern cosmism is championed by figures like Ben Goertzel, founder of SingularityNet, Ben Goertzel. That sounds pretty familiar. And absorbed into the broader transhumanist movement. Its core tenets include humanity's destiny is to spread intelligence throughout the cosmos. Doesn't say human intelligence. Intelligence. This could be intelligence that we've created. Death is a solvable engineering problem. I don't want to live forever. Do y'all want to live forever? Even in a utopia, we just get bored of good shit, dude. It's fucking crazy out here. Anyway, the universe is waking up through the emergence of intelligence. Colonizing space is not optional, but a moral obligation. We're trying to colonize Mars, dog. Elon Musk is trying to colonize Mars. He's working with NASA, which was, let's not forget, NASA started as an offshoot of Nazi engineers that we brought to America with Operation Paperclip and created a crazy fucking thing called NASA. And we can go on for ages about NASA, but we're not going to today. Cosmism provides the TESCREAL bundle with its grandest ambition. The idea that what happens with AI on Earth determines the fate of the entire observable universe. This is the foundation of long-termist arguments that AI alignment is the most important problem in human history because getting it right or wrong affects not just Earth, but all potential future civilizations across billions of galaxies. I mean, just how full of ourselves are we to think that we could create the greatest intelligence of all time and then control it? Dog, we don't even know what's in the fucking ocean right here. Like right here. We've tapped into 10% of this. But we're going to create the greatest intelligence this universe has ever seen, and we're going to control it? I'm sorry, align with it? Maybe. We'll see. We will see. I see some of you watching on Twitch and on YouTube. You guys are legends. Thank you. Thank you for getting my numbers up. I mean, I don't have big numbers. But I have similar numbers every time with some of the most awesome people. You guys are here. You guys are like my new like little family. I can't wait to like hang out with you guys every week. I really am trying to do like a couple of times a week, but I've also been getting opportunities to come in with other creators on their stuff. So maybe I'm not doing my own live stream like I did the co-stream with American Discourse News earlier in the week. It wasn't like a Kevin, sitting here stream, but it was an awesome stream. I had a great time on that one. I hope, and I know some of you guys were there, so I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. So let's get back to it. Rationalism. Again, that sounds fair. That sounds rational. It's rationalism, right? Oh, KJ asked, Kevin, you're agnostic, right? Yeah. Atheist, agnostic. I kind of float between the two. For sure. I don't need to find morality elsewhere. But I truly do not care to put anybody down if they seek anything that makes them a better person. How could I ever say anything wrong about that? I will, however, criticize your churches. Just like I don't criticize Americans, but I criticize the American government. Same thing, right? So anyway, rationalism. Rationalism is in the TESCREAL context refers specifically to the community that emerged from Eliezer Yudkowsky's writing on overcoming bias and less wrong. Yudkowsky published a 1,000,000-word series. It's a 1,000,000 word. That's a biggie. A 1,000,000-word series. It's actually, when I saw it, I think it was like 1.6 million words. It's massive. So Yudkowsky published a 1,000,000-word series of blog posts called The Sequence that outlined a worldview centered on Bayesian, shout out Bayesian reasoning, overcoming cognitive biases, and treating AI alignment as an existential priority. This is the guy that wrote, If Anyone Builds It, Everybody Dies. The rationalist community is not merely an intellectual movement. It is a social infrastructure. It includes group houses in the San Francisco Bay Area, its own vocabulary and social norms, dating culture, and a pipeline into AI labs. Many current and former employees of OpenAI, Anthropic, and DeepMind come through the less wrong rationalist pipeline. Okay? Key rationalist concepts that feed into TESCREAL. AI alignment, the problem of ensuring super intelligent AI does what humans want. Now, there are a lot of people in TESCREAL that are against alignment. So this isn't like a big, like perfectly fit together concept, but understanding all of these ideologies and how they're getting to a point where we're all going to fucking die, well, still worth looking at. Rocco's Basilisk, a thought experiment suggesting a future AI might punish anyone who failed to help create it, described as technological Pascal's wager. Sequence thinking, a comprehensive epistemological framework that functions as the movement's intellectual catechism. X risk, the idea that existential risk, especially from AI, should dominate all other moral priorities. Now, the man who created this is also a super transhumanist, but this actually lives outside of transhumanism or separate from transhumanism. Effective altruism. This one's crazy. I can read this here for you, but I'm going to tell you this. Essentially, effective altruism believes that all morality and everything that we should do as a race should be done through mathematical probabilities, right? And so it's not about ethics or morals. It's all math, right? So, like, for example, if the math plays out that we lose 50% of humans living today, but by that happening, there are future generations of post-human transhumanists that are merged with AI or, other sorts of like hardware, software, things of that nature, then the math checks out and it's worth losing half of humanity today to have a bigger, more advanced humanity later, right? That's like a big way of looking at it. And it's, effective altruism, like I said, Art Chad did a video about a month or two ago called Silicone Valley is run by a death cult. And that is a whole video that he did just about effective altruism and this movement. Highly, highly, highly suggest. But let's read this. Effective altruism, or EA, is a philosophical and social movement that uses evidence and reason to determine the most effective way to do good. It was formalized by philosophers William MacAskill and Toby Ord at Oxford University, with major funding from Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz through Open Philanthropy, which is part of OpenAI. EA began with relatively uncontroversial premises: comparing charities by cost effectiveness, donating to fight malaria, but underwent what critics call a long-termist capture in the late 2010s, meaning it was basically co-opted and taken over by another ideology called long-termism, which is the L in TESCREAL, which we'll come to in a second. Sorry, let me get back to where I was. By 2022, AI existential risk had become EA's dominant cause area, consuming the majority of open philanthropy's grant making and reshaping the movement's identity. The institutional infrastructure of EA is vast. Open philanthropy, over $1 billion in AI safety grants. Center for Effective Altruism, the movement's coordinating body. 80,000 hours, career advice platform steering talent towards AI safety. Giving What We Can, a pledge to donate 10% of income functioning as a secular tithe. EA Global, an annual conference that functions as the movement's liturgical. These are fucking weird ass words, guys. And I'm probably butchering them. And I'm usually pretty good at this stuff. Liturgical. So annual conference that functions as the movement's liturgical calendar. The collapse of FTX, that's Sam Bankman-Fried, who's in jail with fucking Diddy right now. In November of 2022, Sam Bankman-Fried's cryptocurrency exchange, which was deeply intertwined with EA funding, exposed the movement to mainstream scrutiny. Bankman-Fried had described his entire business as an earning to give project for EA causes. Another thing that they don't talk about in this report, but is very well known, is that, like, if you've ever heard of the term like polycule, or even like polyamory, then these guys are like the biggest proponents of like polycules, which is like very like almost like incestuous. Like, so if you remember, like Sam Bankman-Fried had like a polycule with all these like other weirdos from his company, and they all like lived in these places together and ran like essentially one of the biggest Ponzi schemes like ever. Apple Juice asked, is that a Lego gun? Or that is a Lego gun. It is not real. Those are fake bullets. But it's actually mechanically just like a gun. It like spits out a shell and shoots a bullet. It's pretty awesome. I love this thing. It's like my fidget toy. So anyway, one last piece, and that is long-termism. Long-termism is the philosophical position that positively influencing the long-term future is a key moral priority of our time. It was formalized by William McCaskill, who's also the leader of Effective Altruism, in his 2022 book, What We Owe the Future, and by Toby Ord in The Precipice. The core long-termist argument is the number of potential future people is astronomically large, trillions upon trillions across millions of years. Future people's interests matter morally just as much as present people's. Remember, like I said, the effective altruist would be fine with losing 50% of people now if it meant having trillions or millions of people, trillions of people in the future, right? Therefore, actions that affect the long-term trajectory of civilization, especially those involving existential risks, are overwhelmingly more important than anything else. AI is the biggest existential risk, so AI alignment is the most important cause in human history. It is, but not because we need to go fucking sail the cosmos as cyborgs, but because humanity is pretty fucking perfect as it is in its natural state, and we don't really need to change too much. Right? Like, if anything, we should be reverting. We should be reverting. That's just my take. We should be reverting. We shouldn't be looking to fucking being in spaceships as fucking immortal cyborgs. That's insanity. That's insanity. I don't know. You tell me, actually. You think it's not insanity? You think this is completely rational? Is this what you want? Do you want to be a cyborg living forever in space? Spreading AI? I don't. I want to live like 80 years in like good health and then fucking check out, dog. I don't ever want to be the first to do anything. So like, I certainly don't want to be in the first generation of people that's going to go fucking be a cyborg in space. That'd probably suck. And I'm not going to be alive enough to fucking enter 3-4 versions in. So I'm cool with dying at like 80. That'd be fucking lit, dude. I'm halfway there. I'm like stoked being halfway there. If the alternative is being a cyborg in space. That shit looks fucking abysmal. Anyway, I hope that we opened up some new concepts in your brain and that you at least have an understanding of what this is. It's not a singular cult. It's more like 7 of them. But it's not even about the cult of it, right? It's about the result of what the richest, most powerful people on this planet and what they actually believe, what they say. That's why my video is so important, because they're saying this shit in public, bits of it, pieces of it here and there. They're not explaining the whole thing at once, because if they did, it'd fucking sound crazy. But they get you on board for bits of it, right? That's what I want you to start looking at, right? My hope is that you watch this, you're in this live stream, or you watch clips of this or whatever, or any of the videos that I'm going to do about this, because clearly I've barely even scratched the surface. That's the reality, is I've barely scratched the surface of this. My hope is that you start to look at the world around you, right? Start looking at what's happening. Start looking at what these people are doing, what they're saying. And then ask yourself, does this sound like a tech death cult that is totally okay with creating the thing that's going to probably kill me and the people I love? Let's just start there. Let's just start there. And then let's dig a little deeper, piece by piece. Because again, like, this isn't, I'm going to pull this up again. I'm going to pull this up again because this is what we're against, dog. You see that? You see that? You see this? This is what we're up against, my friends. And it is nut-y. I mean, these are the things that sway our society. This is the technology of our society. Not American society, global society. With very real goals of like owning the universe. These are not normal people. This is not us. Let me take these off. This is not us. These are not normal humans. These are people that literally believe. These people literally believe that most of us are going to die at the hands of technology that they're creating, that they don't understand and that they're not in alignment with. It's going to result in the death of most of us. And for everybody else, they are going to live forever in a cyborg fucking hurling itself through space to spread AI out into the cosmos. And this is like, these are the most important, fuck importance. These are the most powerful people. These are the true lever pullers of our society. This is what they want. I'm not trying to be doomer. I actually think that we have a chance. We still have a window of opportunity to halt this thing. And that's what all the people who are inside, who are the ones talking about pausing, halting, all of it for whatever reason, whether they want to protect enough humans so that we can become transhumanists, or if they're just like us, you and I, who just like, we just like being human, and you know, we want humans to survive because that's what we've always done. But we have a window of opportunity. And so with that, I hope I've helped open your eyes a little bit to what's going on here. And I hope you keep those eyes open as you look and interact with the world around you, and start really thinking about, is Kevin crazy? Or is there something here? And with that, I would love to answer more questions and things of that nature, but I'm at the end of my time today. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation, because boy, there are some topics we can talk about. Epstein's transhumanist agenda, insane. Israel's connections to all of these people and entities, or a lot of them, insane. And so, yeah, just know that you are digital goyim in the eyes of our tech overlords. And we might have a little fight. We might have a little fight ahead of us. And I, for one, am down to fight, because I like to fight. I like to argue. I dig it. I'm from Boston, dog. Let's go. Let's fucking go. You know? Whose legs we breaking? Let's fucking go. Like, that's just my mentality. I hope you guys are down to break some legs. Not physically, not literally, but metaphorically. Let's go break some legs. Anyway, have a great weekend. Sorry if I put fear into you, but fear not. If we all together can come together and say, this is what we definitely want or don't want in our world, this actually could be a turning point for humanity, where we finally stopped fighting with each other and we finally got on the same fucking page. That's my hope. Anyway, I love you all. Thank you for coming in. Everybody on Twitch, Kick, or YouTube, like it, share it, subscribe, you know, whatever. Thank you. Have a great weekend.